Hello friends, welcome to Kamat Astrology. So on the night of September 21 and further on September 22nd, 2025, a partial solar eclipse rises with the dawn across the southern hemisphere, and it will touch the areas such as New Zealand, Antarctica and the South Pacific. Now this eclipse is a partial solar eclipse and it is happening in the sign of Kanya or Virgo, very close to the Uttar Falguni Nakshatra, and also on the last day of Pitru Paksha, that is on the day of Mahalaya Amavasya, and that is why this eclipse is very important. So the Pitru Paksha starts from 7th September 2025 and it will go on till 21 September 2025, and this eclipse also happens on the last day of the Pitru Paksha or during the Mahalaya Amavasya of the Pitru Paksha. So in this video we will cover its exact timing, where Sutak or rules are applicable, where it is visible, and what this eclipse portends for USA, Europe, Russia, India, Iran and the wider world. Now first, this is a partial solar eclipse and the sun is not completely covered in this eclipse. So just to understand, when the moon comes between the sun and the earth, when you look at the sun from the earth, a portion of it is obscured, and that is what is called as a partial solar eclipse, as you can see in this diagram. Now the global date for this partial solar eclipse is Sunday 21st September 2025, and it will be visible in New Zealand, a thin strip of Eastern Australia at sunrise, Fiji, Tonga and parts of Antarctica. This is also nicknamed as equinox eclipse, as it occurs just hours before the equinox on 22nd September. Now what is the timing of this eclipse? If you consider the GMT time, this will begin on September 21st at 17:29 GMT and it will end at 21:53 GMT. So in terms of IST is GMT plus 5 hours 30 minutes. So it will start at 11 PM IST on September 21 and it will end at 3:24 AM IST on September 22nd. However, in India, this solar eclipse is not visible and therefore there is no Sutak or rules that have to be followed for this solar eclipse in India. However, this solar eclipse will be visible in New Zealand, Eastern Australia, Fiji, Tonga and parts of Antarctica. So there the Sutak will be applicable. Now the Sutak for a Surya Grahan that typically begins 12 hours before the first contact, and it is followed only in places where the eclipse is visible. So since in India it is not visible, there are no Sutak rules here. However, for viewers in New Zealand, South Pacific who follow Vedic rites and rituals, the Sutak begins the previous night and ends after the eclipse ends at your location. Now why is this eclipse important? First thing is it is occurring in the Kanya Rashi and in the Uttar Falguni Nakshatra. Now Uttar Falguni Nakshatra is a nakshatra ruled by the sun itself. So if you see this diagram, you can see sun, moon and Mercury in the sign of Kanya or Virgo. I have shown it with a purple square. And you can see that sun and moon are held between malefics, Mars on one side, Ketu on the other. So they are also in a Pap Kartari Yoga, or they are surrounded by malefic planets. Thirdly, Saturn aspects this eclipse. And during the time of the eclipse, Mars and Saturn form a Shadashtak. Similarly, Rahu and the eclipse house, that also forms a Shadashtak. And there is no Jupiterian aspect on this eclipse. So overall, this eclipse is not a good thing. Now, because the sun and moon are together, it is the day of Amavasya, and 21st September, like I explained, is the last day of Pitru Paksha, which means it is the day of Mahalaya Amavasya or the Pitru Paksha Amavasya, when it is a time for us to remember our ancestors, do charity and seva in their name. Now, this is happening in the Kanya Rashi or the zodiac sign of Virgo. So, what does the Kanya Rashi deal with? Kanya Rashi is the natural sixth house of the zodiac. So, it deals with health systems, hospitals, debates, enemies, conflicts, sanitation, civil services, logistics, architecture, agriculture, and mainly Kanya is the sign of perfection, so it also deals with compliance and audits. It is an analytical sign, so it deals with data and analytics also. And an eclipse here symbolizes revealing hidden faults in all these domains. Now, the eclipse is happening in the Uttar Falguni nakshatra, which is ruled by the sun. And this nakshatra is linked with contracts, it is linked with government, it is linked with leadership patronage, it is linked with civic order, and the deity of this nakshatra is Aryaman. So, during this eclipse, lot of issues related to health systems, hospitals, sanitation, logistics, all those problems may come out in this time period. Now, like I said, Virgo rules health systems, logistic hubs, and supply chains. So, during this time period, you can expect some disruption in hospitals, healthcare, air and rail travel, food supply chain. Now, Saturn also aspects Sun and Moon, and that shows harsh tests. What do I mean by this? Saturn's aspect on the sign of Virgo with Sun and Moon in it during the Amavasya can show mass protest, it can show terrorist activities, extremist activities. Moreover, Saturn is retrograde, so it increases the resentment in this time period. Now, which are the most affected countries? Where this eclipse is visible, those countries will be most affected. So, New Zealand, South Pacific, Antarctica, Fiji, Tonga, those are the most affected regions. Now, what is going to happen in India? Now, in India, this eclipse is happening in the 5th house. And with the sun and moon present in the 5th house, this can show protests against the government. Government can face severe challenges in this time period. Now, there can be border tensions, there can be terrorist activities in India, especially in the southern part of India and the northern regions of India such as Delhi, Gurgaon, Haryana, that zone, including Jammu and Kashmir. So, that is the area where extremist activities are possible, and India has to be very careful in this time period. Even though the eclipse is not visible in India, these effects can show up in India in a big way. In Europe, isolated terror attacks or violence in transport hubs such as trains, metros, and airports can be expected, and this can happen around the time of the eclipse or a few weeks later. Now, if you understand the sign of Virgo, it is a sign of analytics, it is a sign of engineering, and therefore this can be well planned cyber attacks, this can be well planned terror attacks, and you could see disruptions in transport and the healthcare sector, the medical sector. All these areas can be affected in this time period. Since 5th house represents the youth of the country and 11th house where Saturn is present for India's ascendant Taurus, this can show youth protests, farmer protests, militant incidents in border areas, and like I said, all the transport systems like metros, rails, air travel, this can be disrupted or can face terror activities in this time period. So, sensitive areas for India are Kashmir, Delhi, Gurgaon, Kerala, Karnataka, and the northeast belt. Now, in USA, this eclipse is not visible, so there is no direct impact. but there could be debates related to healthcare policies, food and drug supply chains, rules related to data privacy and compliance coming out in the next 1 to 3 months due to this eclipse, and markets may briefly react to such changes. So in USA, I don't see any major impact of this eclipse. In Europe, like I said, there can be lone wolf attacks or terror attacks, but not mass attacks. And in Europe, the focus will now be more on food safety regulations, agricultural logistics. So, policy work, paperwork, audits, compliance, and deadlines, those will take more priority in the European region. In Russia also, this eclipse is not visible. So on Russia also there is no major impact of this eclipse. In Iran, you can expect regulatory challenges and religious protests or religious fundamentalism increasing in this time period. In Europe, I see three countries primarily having an impact, though the eclipse is not visible there. That is France, Germany, and UK. So, in these regions, there could be isolated terror attacks or accidents related to rail, metro, or air. So, the message is India has to be very careful during this time period because there is a possibility of terror attacks, like I said, in the southern region as well as specific regions on the north side such as Delhi, Gurgaon, Haryana, Punjab, Jammu and Kashmir. And this time can also trigger earthquakes. So in the southern hemisphere, the region of New Zealand, Tonga, Fiji, all those areas, there is a possibility of earthquakes coming there in this time period. Now, the most important thing is this eclipse falls during the Pitru Paksha last day, that is on the day of Mahalaya Amavasya. So the remedies for this eclipse is to worship your ancestors. If you can do Shraddh, Tarpan for your dead ancestors on this day, that is 21st September, it is a very good thing. And whatever donations you do on this day, whatever prayers you say on this day, they will directly reach and benefit your ancestors. Now, during the eclipse time, worshipping the sun and the moon or worshipping Lord Shiva is especially beneficial to the natives. So, in this time, do spend lot of time in meditation, in doing donations, in doing charity, and that will be good for you. Chanting mantras such as the Pitru Gayatri mantra 108 times at the time of the eclipse, that will also benefit you in a big way. And it is also one of the good remedies for Pitru Dosh if anyone has it in their horoscope. Now, because the sign of Kanya is aspected by Saturn, it has luminaries such as Sun and Moon in it. Mercury is also present in the sign of Kanya at the time of the eclipse. And these three planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, they are in a Pap Kartari Yoga surrounded by Mars and Ketu on either side, aspected by Saturn. This eclipse is not good news for the world because after September, certain events will happen which will shake the world. On a personal front also, see what is Kanya Rashi for you in your horoscope. Say it is your first house, then you need to take care of your health. If it is somebody's second house, problems related to family, wealth, fixed assets can come up in this time period. If it is the third house, you may face problems in short distance journeys. You may face challenges with respect to siblings. If it is your fourth house, there could be some disturbance in your home in this time period, or mother's health can also suffer in this time period. If it is the fifth house, then challenges related to education, problems in investment, some problems in your name and fame can come in this time period. If this is happening in your sixth house, I am saying this relative to the ascendant. So if it is happening in the sixth house, you have to be careful with respect to your daily routine, your health, and legal disputes may suddenly surface in this time period. If it is happening in the seventh house, challenges in relationship, partnership, married life can suddenly come up in this time period. Be careful and avoid signing unnecessary contracts in this time period. If this is happening in the eighth house, you have to be careful with respect to accidents and do not indulge in wrong occult practices in this time period. And if this is happening in the ninth house, issues related to long distance travel, delays in getting visa, health of father, all this can crop up in this time period. If it happens in your 10th house, problems in your workplace, problems with bosses, all of those can suddenly happen during the time of the eclipse. If it is happening in the 11th house, that is the sign of Kanya, is the 11th from your ascendant, ascendant being the first house. In that case, challenges with friends, challenges in achieving certain desires, or hurdles in achieving desires can come in this time period. If it is happening in the 12th house, your expenses can increase. You also need to be careful on your health front, and you may feel a bit isolated during the time of the eclipse. So because this eclipse is happening in the natural sixth house of the zodiac belt, during this time of eclipse, if you do donations, charity, if you serve small animals, and if you chant mantras related to the sun, moon, or Lord Shiva, that will greatly benefit you. So friends, I have already made a video on the lunar eclipse which happens during 7th and 8th September, and this is now the video on the solar eclipse after 15 days, that is around 22nd September. So if you like this video, please mark it as liked on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. For any queries or to get in touch with us, you can email us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com. You can also visit our website astroseva.tripod.com to know more about us. So friends, thanks a lot. Bye. Take care and stay safe.